I am Iolani Haleski, St. Johns County naturalist. I've got my track-in plaster stuff set up. I've got a couple of prints that are molds from some place that you can actually buy them offline. They're like a rubber mold of the deer. I have the deer track that we were looking at a second ago right here, surrounded by one of these Tupperwares with the bottoms cut out to give it a nice border and something strength to hold up the edges. And I've got another Tupperware with plaster in it. And so you do need a little bit of plaster. You can get it at just about any store, Home Depot or wherever, craft stores. I have some water that I'm pouring in here. So this is canned water actually. You don't need canned water, you can get any water you need. And then I have a little stick that I'm gonna start mixing up the plaster. Now I like it the consistency of like pancake batter. So something that you're going to, if you get it too wet, it'll take a long time for that water to get out and you might actually ruin the track. But if you can get it just the right consistency of thick pancake batter, it will fill in the tracks without ruining the track itself. Let me see if I can get here. I may have added too much water, we're about to find out. I don't know, it's actually pretty good. It has a little bit of thickness to it. You got to get all the lumps out and you have a limited amount of time. So maybe 2 or 3 minutes before it starts setting up, maybe a little bit sooner. It's really important to make sure you get this all stirred in. I'm spilling it a little bit. Now it does take about 30 minutes or so for it to finally set up like hard where you can actually take it out. Sometimes 45 minutes depending on the temperature. But I'm going to start with this track right here, the one that we saw in the earlier video. It's a nice deer track, direct register. I'm going to pour it all the way on the edge of the track and make sure it gets down into the toes, and then I'm going to pour the rest of it out to make sure I cover everything in there. Now sometimes I'll even throw a little bit of dirt in the mix to give it a little thicker if I get it too wet. Also it kind of records where I was. It has a little bit of the area that I was in. So I'm going to make sure that this gets flat. I'm going to take the popsicle stick or whatever stick that you have and kind of smooth it out. It's already starting to set up. It will heat up a little bit when it starts to set up. Not too hot, but it will definitely heat up a little bit. And then once this gets a little bit more where it's kind of like a solid instead of a liquid state, I'll probably draw or write in what it is. Deer track, maybe the date, maybe the place that I'm in. I can just use a stick for that too. Lots of other ways to do this. I'll show you some other things in just a minute. Let me go ahead and I'll bring you over to that track a little bit so you can see. You can see right here the Tupperware that was around the track. Just like this track right here, you'd put it just around the track and shove it in the ground just a little bit to where it makes a nice airtight or watertight, and then you pour it in. All right, get outside, do some tracking. Hello again, this is Iolani Haleski, St. Johns County Park naturalist. I'm going to show you another way of doing some plaster tracks. I'm going to use the rubber molds this time. I brought them out here with me, but they are of a deer. There's a front and a hind, and you can kind of see where it goes in. This is the outcome of those plaster tracks. So this is what it looks like. It's nice and hard. You can even paint them. So it's a positive reflection of the track instead of the negative going into the soil is what you're going to end up with. So you actually get the whole foot, which is pretty cool. So another way is to take a plastic bag with your plaster in it. You can put your plaster in it and you can pour your water inside that plastic bag. And then you can zip it up. This is a little bit easier way as far as mess. And then mix it around with your fingers. Make sure you get all those chunks out. Get it to a nice consistency. That might be a little too much water. I'm going to add a little bit of soil from it to kind of give it a little bit more stability. Maybe some color. And once you get it to about pancake batter, you can take it and pour it into your track. So this is the way you're going to do, same way as if it's in the soil. You got to do it real slow so it doesn't pour out and destroy the track. I'm going to get it all the way around, and look, I have just enough to do the second one, so I'm going to do the second one too. I'm going to go all the way in, make sure it gets in the toes. Oh, there's a little lump that I missed, but that's all right. It'll still come out. All the way up. It's already starting to set up a little bit. This one's quicker. I think I have some extra. And then I'm gonna let it sit for about 30 minutes, maybe even an hour, just depends. Depends on the weather, depends on the humidity, depends on how hot or cold it is. And we'll show you the outcome in just a few minutes. Some things to always note, I always bring a compass with me so I know the direction. As you see, this is magnetic north going this way. And I always bring some kind of measuring stick. This one comes from the library. And then apparently my cat decided to come out here with me. So Motor Mouth is right here. Hey, Motor Mouth. He's deciding to make some of his own tracks. Hope you enjoyed this. Get outside, do some plaster tracks, and I'll show you the outcome in just a few minutes. Hello, this is Ailani. I'm back with some plaster tracks. They're almost ready to take out. Actually, one of them came out pretty good. They're still really delicate, but I'm gonna show you a little bit about how to take them out. So if you have the rubber molds, like this one, you can see I have one I've already taken out. Let me set this up really quick. This one came out of here, and as you see, this deer track has the nice toes that go down in deep. Missed that little part right here on the end, but it pretty much gets the whole track. The rubber molds are a little easier to take out than the other, but you kind of need to be delicate and peel away the sides just like this, you know, making sure that you're not breaking anything. And once you've peeled them away, you can feel it's actually pretty hot right now because it's chemically setting up inside the track, but I think we're safe enough to get this guy out. So I'm going to try to find the heel, like right there. I'm going to pull it back and kind of give it a wiggle so we don't break the tip off. And just like that, pops right out. There you go. So it's a nice deer track right there, front foot. That one's the hind foot. Right there, and right there. Now let's go check out our other one that we were setting up with the other mold. So this one's going to be a little different. So as you see, I put the date in there, 5/20, May 20, 2000. I'm going to pull this just right out of the ground, just like that. Now it's going to look dirty because, you know, it's got all that dirt stuck to it. But if you take a toothbrush or some kind of light brush, or even let it dry out all the way, you'll start to see the track starting to come out. I'm going to use my finger for a little bit. I don't want to dig too deep because it's still pretty delicate. But as you see, you can see the deer track starting to come out. Now, this part right here is beveled, so once it dries out, it will kind of get away. I can just pop it out really easily, but I'm not going to do that yet because it's still kind of delicate. So I want it to dry completely. But there you go. There's some tracking in the field and set up plaster tracks. You can actually see a little bit of the deer track that's left over from when the print came out. And there's lots of deer tracks around here. All right, well, get outside, enjoy nature, find some tracks, get some plaster. You can get it anywhere, you know, at hobby stores or Home Depot or wherever. You can get 4-pound bags pretty cheap. So it's a real neat thing to have, just a plastic bag of that in the back of your backpack. And when you're out tracking or out just walking and you find a really cool track you want to save, that's a good way to do it. All right, hope you had fun. Get outside, enjoy.